Hello, this is Dr. R. Subha welcoming you all for my video. In this video, I am going to explain you about Carnatic wars. Our Indian country has seen countless wars on its soil. Many of them were meant to change the history of India. One of such great battles was the Carnatic Wars. It held in the Carnatic region. This war helped the British to take root in Indian soil. Trade relations between India and Europe are very old. In 1498, Vasco da Gama discovered a new sea route to India. After that, many European countries like Portuguese, Dutch, Danes, Britishers and France came to India and established their trading centers. At first, they came to India as merchants and eventually got involved in Indian politics and finally settled their settlements in India. The trade competition between Europeans became a competition for political domination. In the 18th century, the English and the French succeeded in expelling the Portuguese and the Dutch from India. English and French dominated Indian trade. The two established their trade centers in many parts of India. Most of their commercial sites were located along the coastal region like Madras, Calcutta, Mumbai for English and Pondicherry for French. The profits from the business created rivalry and conflict between the two nations. This caused frequent fights among them. At the time, the English and French governments supported their merchants. One such war took place in Carnatic region. The Carnatic region is the region of peninsular India lying between the Eastern Ghats and the Western Ghats in the modern Indian states of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and southern Andhra Pradesh. Carnatic Wars. The English and the French who came to India for trade began to compete from the early 18th century to establish their supremacy in India. Taking advantage of the political chaos that followed the collapse of the Mughal Empire in India, they turned to Indian domestic politics. The English-French dominant rivalry emerged in Carnatic and Bengal. After the fall of Mughal Empire, Deccan, led by Nizam-ul-Mulk, declared his release. Carnatic is also a part of Deccan. In 1740, the War of Austrian Succession started in Europe. England and France on the opposite side of the war. So, war broke out between them in India also. The First Carnatic War, 1746 to 1748. The First Carnatic War was an extension of the Anglo-French War in Europe. The rivalry between European trade groups intensified since Dupleix was appointed as governor of Pondicherry in 1742. Dupleix wanted to raise the position of the French in India. In 1746, the British attacked the French in India. The British, with the help of their naval leader, Barnett, seized some French ships in the Coromandel coast. Dupleix then sent an urgent appeal to La Bourdonnais. La Bourdonnais was the governor of Mauritius. Dupleix appealed La Bourdonnais to assist him with his fleet. French fleet attacked Chennai port. Dupleix and La Bourdonnais captured Madras. After capturing Madras, La Bourdonnais, without informing anything to Dupleix, he agreed to return back Madras to English by getting some money from them. This made Dupleix angry. So, differences flared up between Dupleix and La Bourdonnais. La Bourdonnais went back to Mauritius with his fleet. The English launched a naval attack on Pondicherry, but it failed. Anwaruddin, the Nawab of Carnatic, did not like this kind of hostilities in his kingdom. The English appealed to him to come to their rescue. Responding to their request, Anwaruddin asked French to quit Madras. Dupleix at first tried to pacify him by saying that he would hand over Madras to the Nawab later. But Anwaruddin was not satisfied with this unclear reply. He sent a huge force headed by Mahfuz Khan to fight against the French. But a small French regiment defeated the huge force of Anwaruddin at Adayar. This exposed the military weakness of the Indian rulers. It also revealed the helplessness of an Indian army against a small body of properly trained European soldiers. Dupleix realized that a small but efficiently trained army might play a decisive role in the rivalries among the local princes. An attempt by Dupleix to capture the English fortress of St. David was failed. In the meantime, the War of Austrian Succession in Europe had come to an end. So, the English and the French stopped their war in India. The Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle in 1748 put an end to the Austrian Succession War and the war in Carnatic region. Madras was restored to the English. Instead, British gave Louisbourg to France in North America, and the territory, the English and the French positions in India remained unaltered. The Second Carnatic War, 1748 to 1754. Although the feud between the Britain and France ended in Europe, but the rivalry between the trade groups in India continued. The reason behind the First Carnatic War was the Anglo-French rivalry in Europe that reflected in India. But in Second Carnatic War, there was peace between England and France in Europe. It was the hostility between the trading companies in India was the reasons of the Second Carnatic War. It was an unofficial war fought between the European countries in India. Dupleix's victory against the Nawab's forces gave him great confidence and greed. The aim of Dupleix was to raise the status of the French. He started to look for opportunities to extend French influence in southern India. The much sought opportunity was provided in the disputed succession to the thrones of Hyderabad and Carnatic. The English were alarmed by the growing influence of French. The Nizam of Hyderabad, Asaf Shah I, died in the year 1748. This was followed by a succession war between his second son Nazir Singh and grandson Muzaffar Singh. In Carnatic, Chanda Sahib, Dostali's nephew, wanted to reach the throne of Arcad against Anwaruddin. Chanda Sahib and Muzaffar Singh sought the help of the French. So Anwaruddin and Nasir Singh got the help of the English. Thus, a tri-party understanding between French, Muzaffar Singh and Chanda Sahib developed. The dispute over the occupation of the throne of Hyderabad and Arcad caused the war. The war at Carnatic region. In 1749, French force along with the forces of Chanda Sahib and Muzaffar Singh defeated Anwaruddin at Ambur. In that war, Anwaruddin was assassinated. His son Muhammad Ali fled to Tiruchirappalli for self-defense. There he surrendered to the English. Chanda Sahib became the Nawab of Carnatic. He gave Valuthanur, Bilyanur and Pagur near Pondicherry to French in exchange for their help. Then he invaded Tiruchirappalli to capture Muhammad Ali. The English came to the aid of Muhammad Ali. Robert Clive, who was the clerk at the time in the English East India Company, devised a plan to attack Arcad. It was accepted by Governor Saunders. He sent a force under the command of Clive and Major Lawrence. In 1751, Clive captured Arcad without much opposition. He defeated the French forces and Chanda Sahib in Arane and Kaveripakam. Chanda Sahib was beheaded by English in 1752. Dupleix was unable to capture Tiruchirappalli. So, in Carnatic region, Britishers won the war. The war at Hyderabad. The French and their allies marched against Nasir Singh. Nasir Singh was assassinated in 1750. Muzaffar Singh was appointed as the Nizam and gave many concessions to the French. After a short while, Muzaffar Singh was killed in a battle. The French general Bussy then placed Salabat Singh on the throne and maintained French influence in the Deccan. Bussy controlled the political fortunes of the state for 7 years. For the military support given to the Nizam, the French were given 4 rich districts on the Coromandel coast. known as the Northern Sarkar. So, in Hyderabad, French won the war. French government recalled Dupleix. After his departure, the Second Carnatic War came to an end. French government sent Godehou in his place. Godehou signed the Treaty of Pondicherry with the Britishers in 1755. By this treaty, both the nations agreed not to interfere in the quarrels of the Indian princes. The situation of the French in Hyderabad, however, remained strong. The capture of Arcot in the Battle of Carnatic was the greatest achievement of the English. The English were victorious in Carnatic region. In Hyderabad, General Bussy defended French influence. The Third Carnatic War, 1758 to 1763. The 7 Years' War broke out in Europe in 1756. In this war, England and France joined opposite side. This immediately reflected in India. This war was the immediate cause of the Third Carnatic War in India. This time, the war passed beyond the limits of the Carnatic and it reached Bengal as well, where the English captured the French possessions of Chandranagore in 1757. But as the most decisive battles of the wars were fought in the Carnatic, it is rightly called as the Third Carnatic War. The French government sent a strong contingent of force headed by Count de Lally. When he arrived in India, he attacked Fort St. David and captured it. He then made an attack on Madras, but he was defeated by English forces under Sir Eyrecourt in the Battle of Vandivash, that is Vandavasi, in 1760. This attack ended in failure. At this critical juncture, Lally committed another great blunder by recalling Bussy from the Nizam's court, and the French influence at Hyderabad at once collapsed. Hyderabadi Nizam Salabat Singh was forced to join the English. So, the French lost their political influence in Hyderabad. The British defeated the French general Lally and Bussy. In 1761, the French handed over Pondicherry, Mahe, Jinji and Karaikal to the British. In 1763, the Third Carnatic War came to an end by the Treaty of Paris. According to that treaty, Pondicherry, Karaikal and other areas belonging to the French were given to them again, on the condition that the French could no longer fortify the forts. The Third Carnatic War brought an end to the fate of French in India. This war resulted in establishment of political supremacy of British East India Company, and the French Company was reduced in the areas around Pondicherry only. The reasons for the success of the English. The financial position of the English was seen to be superior to that of the French. The English had better trade facilities than the French. The British had superior naval power. There was good unity among the English commanders. The British had three important bases in India: Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay. If any of these bays were impelled by French, the English could still get resources from other centers and could continue war from the other base. The successors of duplex were not as efficient as duplex. Now we are going to see the summary of the Carnatic Wars. First Carnatic War between 1746 to 1748. It fought between Governor General Duplex of France, Major Lawrence of England, Anwaruddin, the Nawab of Carnatic. In the War of Austrian Succession 1740, the France and England were on opposite side. Duplex had raised the army of Indian sepoys. It was not liked by British. The English made a naval attack to capture French ships. Duplex requested Lord Bourdonnais to assist him with his fleet. They caught Madras. Nawab of Carnatic did not like this hostility. Nawab sent a huge army to fight the French forces, but failed. It exposed the weakness of natives. The war ended in 1748 with the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. The territory, the English and the French positions in India remained unaltered. The Second Carnatic War between 1749 to 1754. It mainly fought for the throne of Hyderabad and Arcot. People involved were Muhammad Ali and Chanda Sahib for the Nawabship of Carnatic, and Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung for the post of Nizam of Hyderabad. The Nizam of Hyderabad died in 1748. Struggle between Nasir Jung and Muzaffar Jung for the throne. Anwaruddin and Chanda Sahib fight for the throne of Arcot. Anwaruddin died in the Battle of Ambur in 1749. Anwaruddin's son Muhammad Ali fled to Tiruchirappalli. Chanda Sahib was proclaimed the Nawab of the Carnatic. Then French forces marched to the Hyderabad and fought with Nasir Jung and killed him. Muzaffar Jung was installed as the Nizam of Hyderabad. Chanda Sahib marched towards Tiruchirappalli to defeat Muhammad Ali. Britishers decided to support Muhammad Ali. Robert Clive attacked Arcot, the capital of the Carnatic, and captured it. Chanda Sahib was killed in the battle. Thus, Muhammad Ali was installed as a Nawab of the Carnatic. This war ended with the Treaty of Pondicherry in 1754. By this treaty, both the nations agreed not to interfere in the quarrels of the Indian princes. The Third Carnatic War between 1758 to 1763 fought between the British and the French. People involved were Count de Lally, French General, Sir Eyre Court for England, The 7 Years' War broke out in Europe. England and France was in opposite side. The French under Count Lally captured Fort St. David, but he was defeated by English force under Sir Eyrecourt in the Battle of Van de Wash in 1760. The British defeated the French general Lally and Bussy. In 1761, the French handed over Pondicherry, Mahe, Ginji and Karaikal to the British. In 1763, the Third Carnatic War came to an end by the Treaty of Paris. Pondicherry, Karaikal and other areas belonging to the French were handed over to them on the condition that the French could no longer fortify the forts. The reasons for the success of the English were the financial positions of the English were seen to be superior to that of the French. The English had better trade facilities than the French. The British had superior naval power. There was good unity among the English commanders. The British had 3 important bases in India: Calcutta, Madras and Bombay. If any of these bases were impelled by the French, the English could still get resources from other centers and could continue war from other bases. The successors of Duplex were not as efficient as Duplex. Thank you.